What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Zero Lab. Today we're taking a look at another Prismatic Evolutions deck list. Today we're taking a look at Dragapult EX, and this is one of the big winners from the Prismatic Evolutions set, one of the best users of the new Budew in this format. And we're going to take a look at this deck list that did really well at the Champions League Osaka, and I think this is the best starting place for playing Dragapult EX in this format. We're going to go over the card counts in here, maybe a couple other inclusions you could consider, and then the matchups that you can expect to hit with Dragapult, and what's favored, what might be unfavored, and what are some of the issues you might face with the deck, and why the deck is so strong in this Prismatic Evolutions format. So take a look at the list here. To begin with, we have a 4-4-3 Dragapult EX line. Obviously, that Dracloak has the Recon Directive ability, which allows you to look at the top two cards of your deck, put one card into your hand, one card on the bottom of the deck. It's very, very strong draw power for this deck, and one of the reasons it is so good in this format. Then we have a 2-1-2 line of that Dusknoir. Obviously, the Cursed Blast ability is very strong in combination with the additional damage counters from Dragapult EX's Phantom Dive attack. Obviously, Phantom Dive does 200 to the active, then you spread 6 damage counters onto your opponent's bench. In combination with Cursed Blast, Phantom Dive can hit 330 on the active, or it can knock out something on the bench with those additional damage counters that you're spreading to the bench. Something like a Mew EX potentially on your opponent's bench, or a Squawkabilly. You Cursed Blast the bench, and then the bench Squawkabilly or Mew EX, and then spread those damage counters with Phantom Dive. A lot of strong combinations for those damage counters to be spread around your opponent's board. 2 Budew in here obviously has that Itchy Pollen attack, does 10 damage to the active, and then item locks your opponent for a turn, and that gives Dragapult EX time to set up. Prior to this, the format was so fast that it was a little bit tougher for just straight Dragapult EX decks to set up, but now you have this Budew, which can help slow down the game while you evolve up into those Dracloaks, Dusknoirs, all that. 1 Klefki in here, obviously a great way to slow down your opponent's basic abilities. 1 Radiant Alakazam to move around the damage counters on your opponent's side of the board. 1 Pheasantipede EX for additional draw, and that is our Pokemon lineup in here. We have 4 Arven, 3 Iono, 2 Lance, 2 Boss's Orders, and 1 Research as our supporter counts. That Lance supporter card lets you search your deck for 3 Dragon Pokemon, so a great way, while under item lock, to search out your Dracloaks and Dragapult EXs, or your Dreepies, even if you didn't get all of those out to turn 1. Lance can help you find all those Dragon Pokemon without having to use items, so that is very, very strong. Then for our item counts, we have 4 Buddy Poffins, 3 Nest Balls, 3 Rare Candies, 2 Ultra Balls, 2 Counter Catchers, an Earthen Vessel, a Night Stretcher, 1 Switch, Sparkling Crystal as our A-Spec, that's the best A-Spec for Dragapult EX, 1 Technical Machine Evolution, 1 Rescue Board, and then a 4-3 count of Psychic and Fire Energy. So this deck is very, very strong, and a big piece of that is the fact that Recon Directive helps you draw and still build your board even when you're being item locked by your opponent. You're doing item lock in return as well, so there's going to be a lot of Budew wars, I think, in this format. So while you're in a Budew war against your opponent, you're item locking them, they're item locking you, but with Lance and Recon Directive, you're still able to set up your board and draw through your deck, which I think makes the deck very, very strong. The Phantom Dive attack already is very busted as well. 200 damage to the active, spreading 6 damage counters. Very strong attack in the game. Combine that with Cursed Blast on Dusknoirs, and you're just pumping out a ton of damage. So I do think that this deck is very strong, and Budew is kind of the thing that unlocks this deck in this format. We do expect Gardevoir EX to be another big winner of this format, and Dragapult EX combined with the Dusknoirs, I think, should be very, very strong into Gardevoir. You can take care of their Curlias fairly easily, and if you can dismantle their board state by knocking out a bunch of Ralts and Curlias, you put them in a pretty bad position. Charizard EX is also a good deck in the game. We'll see if it can survive in the Prismatic Evolutions format, but Dragapult has historically had a very good matchup into Charizard EX. Then there's a couple other matchups that you will need to think about. Lugia, for example, historically kind of tough for Dragapult EX. They do gain the Regigigas to one-shot your Dragapult EXs, but you can slow them down quite a bit with Budew. If they are item locked, they can't Ultra Ball away their Archeops, those sorts of things. So you can slow them down enough to make that matchup more favorable. But I would imagine that Lugias are going to start playing 4 Mist Energies again to help block some of that damage from the Phantom Dive attack. Miraidon, Raging Bolt, those are a couple of other matchups that have historically been tough for Dragapult, and it remains to be seen how good those are in the Prismatic Evolutions format. You do have the Klefki in here to slow them down, and if you can't Klefki, you can Budew to slow them down as well. So I do think that you have a better time into those decks just because of some of the tools that you have in this Prismatic Evolutions format that you didn't have before. TM Evolution also helps us, even if we are forced to go first in this matchup or in this format, and we are item locked turn 1 by our opponent, we do still have the Technical Machine Evolution and the Arvins to keep setting up our board state. And I think any deck with that option to use TM Evolution is very strong in this format, especially decks that are stage 2 decks with a stage 1 that has such a strong draw ability. So Gardevoir and Dragapult seem to be sort of the big winners from this format because of those stage 1s with that strong draw ability to help them still set up their board even when they're item locked. So Dragapult EX kind of was in the shadows of the last format, has some placements here and there, but really the best way to play it before was with Regidrago. Now that Regidrago seems to be on the decline because of Budew, maybe we can start playing Dragapult on its own with Dusknoir, with Budew, and it just has a lot of the tools to make itself successful in a heavy item lock format. So give Dragapult EX a shot. See how you think it does on the TCG live ladder right now. I've been seeing a lot of it. There are certainly decks that Dragapult can struggle against. We posted a Cerulege EX deck list on the channel the other day, and that seemed to have a very good Dragapult matchup. I would be curious to see how the Archaludon matchup is. Obviously, with a combination of Phantom Dive and Dusknoir, you can kind of take care of the Archaludons, and that's another deck that people are really interested in this format. I would imagine you have a pretty good time into them, but that would be another matchup to take a look at as well. But yeah, give Dragapult EX a shot. I think it gets a lot better in the Prismatic Evolutions format. Dragapult is a really cool Pokemon too, and a really cool card. The Recon Directive ability is great on the Dracloak, and I think it is a lot of fun to play. So give it a shot. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.